Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Masters of Marketing podcast. Um, this week we have a guest on that's reappearing. So this is not the first time that Markus has been on this podcast, but it's the first time he's been on this podcast in his new role. So today we have Markus Widmer on, and Markus Widmer is the marketing director at e-dialog. We're going to get into e-dialog and what they do now in a couple of moments, but just a bit of a background on Markus. So Markus has been consulting brands in social media, digital marketing, and digital strategy since about 2013. He has, over the past number of years, built digital lead generation strategies for a large B2B company. That was Mondi Group. That's the last company that we were working with together on. And since then has gone over to e-dialog as the marketing director and is leading data-driven marketing, right? So on the side as well, Markus loves to inspire people about the things he's passionate about, and does that through workshops, and also is pretty active on the conference circuit as well. Markus, great to have you on.
Hey, great to be back.
Yes, absolutely. So, Markus, tell me a little bit about what you guys do at eDialog.
Yeah, e-dialog is a digital marketing agency. We're focusing on creating measurable success through data-driven marketing. So that means we're an agency that covers campaigns and media, as well as analytics, as well as the tech side of things and data science. We're based in Vienna, but also Berlin, but also Zurich and some other places. So mainly in the German-speaking area. And it's sort of I always call it an old startup. So it's been founded like 22 years ago. And we're now like 100 plus people. So it's big for a startup and it's old for a startup, but still it's sort of it's privately owned, and we don't belong to any of the big, network agencies. We're still independent. We are a big partner of Google's, though, also a distribution partner for things like the Google Marketing Platform, the Google Cloud Platform. Also, in that respect, not just an agency partner, but also a reseller, and working a lot with that partner.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about who you guys work with. So, what type of companies do you work with?
Yeah, some of the bigger ones you might know are Magenta here in Austria,
Mm-hmm.
Salzburg AG, also a big one in Austria. And we have a lot of big clients in Switzerland as well, which is nice because that's where I'm from originally. Like Mobiliar Insurances, Geberit, and also Worldline, which is not just a Swiss company, but one of the big online and offline payment service companies in the world. In Switzerland as well, Globus, which is like a department store, and a ski resort such as Andermatt, Sedrun, Disentis, for which we did a really nice performance campaign lately. And back in Austria, we also do a lot of retail, such as, for instance, XXX Lutz.
Interesting, interesting. So big household names you're working with there. So if we talk about Magenta, for people that are not familiar with Magenta, used to be T-Mobile. I'm also a Magenta customer, just as a side note. But yeah, it used to be T-Mobile, part of the Deutsche Telekom group. So
Yes.
large international brand, right? Tell us a little bit about the work that you would do at Magenta, if you can, just so that we can get a bit of a flavor.
Yeah. So, of course, a company like Magenta has many different service suppliers, just as like us. But one of the more important roles we do for Magenta is that we optimize their digital marketing setup. So if we look at some of the cases we've done, we've looked at how we can leverage their data to improve the performance of their performance campaigns, for instance, and look at different bidding methods. As a already this gets really, really nerdy, but we looked at things like value-based bidding. So rather than you bid a certain euro amount on a click or a website visit or even a conversion, you bid on the value of that conversion. And to be able to do that, you actually have to have a really good setup that also communicates the value of a particular conversion, such as a purchase on an online website, on an online store, back to, for instance, Google Marketing Platform, in order to optimize for that particular value. And we do a lot of testing. That's actually yeah, one of the main things we do for this customer and many others is we optimize their setup and we test different new forms of running digital marketing campaigns or digital media campaigns in order to just optimize the bang for your buck.
Fair enough. And the bang for the buck when it comes to Magenta's case is probably multi-million euro budgets, I would imagine.
No comment. No
No comment.
comment.
You don't need to. Let's assume it's a high amount anyway. So bang for buck
Yeah,
is important there because it is quite
definitely.
quite sizable budgets, I would imagine. But that's interesting. It's there's so many companies out there that don't even know about that value based bidding as well. It's something I'm seeing more and more nowadays in volume SaaS in particular. Is that value based bidding? So basically, looking at your entire customer journey rather than just looking at the top of funnel stuff. So not looking at just the ad clicks, but actually what happens on the revenue end of things, and then
Yeah,
communicating that back to Google so that you can actually get more of those types of people back in again to purchase from you, right?
that's a big one. It's also something that we're, I think, known for is thinking about the full funnel. Rather than just doing an awareness campaign or doing a performance campaign and looking at like last click attribution of stuff like that, to basically also look at the bigger picture and think about awareness phase, consideration phase, and conversion phase, and basically play the whole funnel during a campaign. And if you make that campaign always on, it will almost always improve better because you can then optimize across different phases of that customer journey or of that sales funnel. And yeah, we got rather interesting cases on that. For instance, the ski resort I mentioned beforehand, Andermatt, will soon publish a case where we have really a return on ad spend of over 600%, which is really unheard of for their winter campaign last year, which was part performance, but we really convinced them to look at their creatives, to look at the awareness phase as well. And that really, really helped to then create that performance, because without awareness, there's never going to be a proper performance. And if you think about the whole funnel and look at the data and make sure you have a setup that will give you the data feedback, then you'll have better campaigns.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's interesting. So you talk about the different phases there. For example, the awareness phase, the consideration phase, and then the conversion phase, right? So trying to get all of those phases to play with one another can be first of all a lot of data, and it also requires a lot of patience, I guess, right? So you might end up with certain people looking at the awareness phase and being like, oh, that's not ending up in revenue, therefore we're just going to
Mm.
turn that off. So it's like
Yes.
I say this to so many people, like, because people ask me, oh, should we be focusing on this one channel, like linked in B2B marketing? Let's take LinkedIn as an example. LinkedIn plays a specific role in the overall journey of a customer. Or let's say, for example, you're selling a large SaaS product, or a large like a product that costs a reasonable amount of money. That's going to be cost that's a yearly fee. So on SaaS, right, it's not something that you're going to make an immediate decision on as a consumer. It has a number of different people in the buying council, right? So you might be selling up to 10 people. So you have so many different variables within that entire thing before somebody makes a decision, right? Now, you can't tell me that if I'm targeting people with brand ads from that specific company that I want to sell to on LinkedIn as an example, but I'm not necessarily getting direct conversions, you can't
No.
tell me that that channel is not working. But that's a lot of the time you end up in a conversation normally with a CFO or somebody from the finance team around those things. Is that often something that you guys are seeing as well, that trying to get the sum of the parts, or to prove the sum of the parts all working together in the unison, is like
Yeah.
is key? How do you sum that up, and how do you prove the value of that? Because I've had conversations myself before where a CFO said, well, that's all well and good, but we could just turn that off and it won't make a difference. And then you turn something off and it does make a difference, but you can then turn it back on, and then the same thing doesn't kick back up again.
Yeah,
there's
yeah, exactly. No, that's really a very tricky one because for many, many years, people have only seen us as a performance agency. And that is, on the one hand, like an image problem that in marketing, since I'm doing marketing for the company, right? I'm not in the technical teams, but I'm doing marketing for e-dialog. So I'm all about that messaging. But what I was getting at is that people, if they look only at the bottom of the funnel, if they look only at the performance campaigns and then do what you said, and many do that, especially now when budgets are under pressure, right? It's not a great time economically, so people will slash possibly parts of their marketing budget, and their first impulse is to slash what isn't easily measurable. But only because it's not easily measurable doesn't mean it doesn't have an impact. So that is sort of a fallacy that happens if you say, oh, last click attribution, I think Google Ads is great, so we're only doing Google Ads, but that will not work because you have to look at the full funnel. And it gets much harder because we are all about truth in numbers, right? We want to have that attribution. We want to have that clarity, which channels are actually performing for us, but not in the sense of just performance ads, but in the sense of what is the full media, the full marketing mix that is performing. So we need to look at stuff like, running tests, comparing full funnel campaigns with just performance campaigns, or even better, but that is a bit of a project, implementing something like a marketing mix model where you use then statistical data to actually be able to say, okay, if I turn that off, give me some prognosis, give me some view of the possible future, what might happen if I turn that off based on statistical data.
That's very interesting as well. With the marketing mix modeling that I'm seeing nowadays as well, you can also plug in offline channels into that as well. So it's not just
Yes.
it's not just on the digital front, but you can also put in TV advertising, billboard advertising, in-store promotions. All of that type of stuff plays a role in those large mixed marketing models, right?
Yes. Yes, I mean, we have launched our own sort of approach to that last year. It's called BRE. So it's our budget recommendation engine. And this is like a Bayesian statistics model where the strong suit of that is where you have a large amount of data, at least 1 year of worth of data, like the bigger budgets, obviously, and several channels. And if you plug all of that into that Bayesian model, and you add, as you said, the external factors. Okay, this was Black Friday. There we had an outage in our tracking. I don't know. Also, in-store sales and so on. If you have all of that data and you plug it into the system, it will become smarter over time and will give you a much more sort of holistic model of what might happen in the future if you reduce that channel, or it might even give you, in the case of Brie, an actual recommendation and say, okay, we think you might have tired out your audiences on that particular channel. You can reduce your budget there and rather invest it over there. And this might be the outcome. And then again, if you plug your outcome into that system again, it will become smarter over time and give you better predictions.
Okay, is this an actual product that you guys have put together and have launched, or how does it work?
Yes, it
Does it
is a
have an
product,
interface
but
and so on, or?
yeah, it is a product, but I prefer calling it a project because it isn't like a plug and play thing. You can't just buy it and then plug it into your system and it runs. There are a few products that promise you that. I'm pretty sure that doesn't really work like it's promised. So we're not promising that. But if you have that kind of data, we have created a model based on existing technology, actually. But our data scientists have worked on a model that is pretty good at actually giving you budget recommendations and also budget predictions or results predictions.
Cool. Okay, and that's you launched that a year ago, did you say?
End of last year, not even
End
a
of
year ago. Yeah.
end of 2024. So it's
End
already
of 2024. It's pretty recent, yeah.
okay. Nice, nice, nice. So I guess you've been involved in some level of go to market for that, right?
I have, yeah.
How, how's that going?
Well, it has been pretty new for this company as well because we have focused on when it comes to go to market on our agency services, the things I mentioned before, media, performance, campaigning, analytics, the technology, and less about sort of product things, except for the Google licenses, which is another interesting revenue stream. So this was pretty new for us, and we did it in a way that was less new for us because we love to speak at conferences, not just me, but the whole company. We're all about, gathering knowledge and sharing knowledge. It's all about, being experts, but also proving that by explaining stuff. So we used a few conference talks for that. And then also had some press out there, did some email marketing, of course, a landing page on the website. So we tried a few things, but it's a really, really complex thing. And I think recently Google finally launched their MMM approach. And Meridian, now I also thought of the name just in time, which is also a very similar approach and really, really interesting because it's open source. So we also openly communicated about the pros and cons of our approach and their approach. But I think the topic is in the air and we were early enough. So hopefully that will be fruitful.
Okay, interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. I mean, yeah, the MMM thing is marketing mix modeling is certainly interesting, right? And I think it's getting bigger and bigger over the past couple of years. So maybe I did some work with a marketing mix model technology a couple of years ago, Cellforte. They're based out of Finland. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but again, like I think a couple of years ago, it was a concept that was a bit harder to sell to people. Like people didn't really trust it maybe as well. I think like everybody for a number of years spoke about marketers all being data driven, but I think a lot of that was just bullshit, to be honest. Like I'm a data driven marketer. Are you though? Are you really like do you like what you've just said to me there though is in terms of looking at the full funnel and looking at doing comparisons of full funnel versus specific areas of the funnel to see which is converting properly or what's converting higher. That's a much deeper focus on being data driven than just the alternative of, hey, am I getting clicks to my ads? Are my ads? Am I getting return on advertising spend? What does that look like? Is my LTV to CAC looking okay? Really digging into every single different lever you can pull, which basically gets into that marketing mix modeling piece, right? That's looking, hey, if I don't do a store promotion, is that going to affect my bottom line based on all of the mix of all of the other channels at the same time? And if you remove it, what impact is that going to have on revenue? Like I think that is a concept people weren't even aware a couple of years ago that was even possible, right? Yeah. But now I think we're at a stage where it's gotten to a stage where people are starting to understand it and come around to it, right?
Yeah, and still it's not a single source of truth. Still, you still have to look at other attribution models and other possibilities of, looking for the truth. And if there is one thing I have learned working at a really data-driven agency for a year now is it's never simple, right? So if you just look into the individual tools like, I don't know, Meta Ads Manager, or Google Marketing Cloud and so on, then they will give you their version of the truth. And it's really, really hard to compare. And if you want to go deeper, if you want to look at your full funnel and use your own data, especially first-party data, then it gets interesting, but it also gets tricky. You have to have a proper setup. You have to look at, of course, data privacy. And this has, let's be honest, it has made our work harder. And this is why I think the marketing mix models are staging their big comeback, because this is statistical data. It's not about, tracking the individual. It's about looking at the big picture in a sort of helicopter view.
Yeah, large data sets and being able to crunch those large data sets and see based on statistics like what's likely to happen next. It may not be the case, but it's what's likely to happen, right?
Indeed, yes. And of course, AI and machine learning helps crunching that huge piece of data. It's something I haven't mentioned, but it's also something we're very much involved in AI, generative AI, and actual, usable marketing cases, and implementing those, and not, which is not just, using Microsoft Copilot to write your newsletter, but also stuff that goes much deeper than that.
Very cool. I mean, yeah, I think nowadays it's almost a prerequisite to get AI involved in whatever product or whatever you're offering. I think it's like, it makes sense, but that's really great to hear that you guys are utilizing it as well. Quick question for you in terms of like your role right now. So you're currently running the marketing for e-dialog. You'd mentioned before that you're trying to move away from an old view of the company, which would have been performance based only. So tell
Yeah.
me about like some of the struggles that you've had there. Like, why did they take you on? Like, what are you trying to achieve? You're trying to get this
Mm.
full funnel approach across, I guess, right? That's one of the things I would imagine.
Yeah, I actually, I think they have got me on board because the company is in a sort of transition mode, because the founder, a couple of years back, the founder basically, he's still around and he's very well known, but for many many years, that person and the company were one and the same thing, right? The personality of the company was the personality of the founder, and that is still very much true. It has been true for a long time. Many people know him, Siegfried Stepke, and that's a good thing. But he has basically toned down his operative involvement down to zero. Basically, there's a new management in place, and I think he was a one-man marketing machine, right? And marketing and sales machine, and you have to find structures and processes to find new ways of doing marketing. So I try to go deep and look at what we have, what our strengths are, what our brand can mean to others, and then a big one is also the whole DACH area, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, because I think we're very well known in as experts in our fields in Austria, less so in Germany, less so in Switzerland, and less so outside of our field of expertise. So this being this agency, very much focused on data-driven things and not doing anything that's not data-driven. That is a strong suit, but it can also be a difficulty, because then people don't understand where we fit in versus, a media agency, or versus a creative agency, or versus whatever. So we need to find our place and define that more clearly, have clear messaging. And then I looked at all the things we already did. We're doing webinars. We host 2 conferences a year in Vienna, also with a digital part, the Google Analytics conference and Programmaticon. And we do a lot of on-stage action, basically. So there's a lot of knowledge involved there, knowledge sharing involved. We also have one of the, I think, most interesting blogs I have had for years, where, if you're, for instance, I don't know, social ads expert or a Google ads expert or an analytics expert, you will know that blog, and you will have subscribed to a newsletter, because we share that knowledge and we are at the forefront of that knowledge. That's great. I want to build on that strength, but also we need to sort of widen the scope and get to talk to more a wider marketing field, let's put it like this. And because the challenge was that people would always know us for one particular area of our expertise and be ignorant about the others. Right? People who hired us for analytics were maybe ignorant about the fact that we also do AI, and the fact that we do campaigns. So that is a challenge that I'm facing right now, and try to build more ways to create more awareness for e-dialog. And then really, like in my last job, also build really a proper full funnel for ourselves. Because as you know, sometimes if you're an agency, you build the great things for your customers and you forget about yourselves.
Yeah, you
And
don't eat
that's
your
what
own
I'm
dog
trying to
food.
fix.
Yeah,
Yeah.
eat your own dog food. Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. No, I get it. I get it. Well, hey, look, Marcus, we're right up on time now. So, where can people find you?
They can find me at e-dialog.group. That's the website. And also, if you just look me up on LinkedIn. Recently, I've toned down my social media. So I'm not on X anymore. I'm now on Blue Sky. Let's not get into that debate.
We're not going. That's a conversation for another day. So
Yeah.
Good. Markus, thanks so much. We'll share all your details in the description of this episode. Really appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy.
Guys, this has been another episode of Masters of Marketing. Thanks for tuning in. Tune in again next week for more great content. Markus, thanks a million for coming on.
Thanks.